Wonderful. Hello, everyone. You are here with Homeschool Live. Even I get turned around now. It's like, hey, I'm not used to being on this side. Oh, this is fun. I get to host today for real. We've got Master Spiritual Teacher here with us, GP Walsh, myself, host, and student Lisa Berry. And we are talking about the feeling of being compelled to compete. And this subject comes up. I couldn't agree more that we really embrace competing in a very societal way, because we even have a book, the Guinness World Records, like to prove that competition is strong and alive in our world. Now, GP, when this subject came up to me about competition, it's because it's not so much in a good feeling, but a lot of us feel that sense of, it's not it's a drive, it's a feeling. I actually wrote these 4 words. We're competing to either come in first, to have more, to be better, or hold something the longest, like a record or something, or a position, and it comes with a sense of uncomfortability at times, but sometimes it's good. So in the world of competition, it's very natural. Animals do it. We have to do it to survive. Why does it bring up such angst sometimes, or jealousy or envy when we feel like, I don't have those things?
Because it's lopsided. It's completely out of balance in our culture, right? Yeah, there's competition, but there's far more cooperation. Far more. I mean, especially mammals. They hunt in packs. They are in groups. Everything is communal. It takes a village to raise a child, right? I mean, it is all communal, and yet there is some competition, right? But what's happened in probably starting with the aristocracy, right? The whole idea of a hierarchy, right? And you compete to get into that hierarchy, and then once you get it, you hold it, right? Because I just defeated these guys in battle, so I've taken over their country now, and so God made me king. So there's nothing you could say about it any longer. And that just carried over into the industrial age. And then it all became about competition. And in the US, it's just really extreme. It's the market, right? The market determines everything. Which a complete destruction of the social contract, and blaming the individual for not being able to compete well enough. And so it's everywhere, right? And it's become pathological. Everything is a competition. Yeah, there's some, you know, if me and some other guy want the same girl, there's a little competition going on. But is it really, or are you just being yourself, and a choice is going to get made, right?
Right. The strengths will come up. I'm just imagining back in the day, you've got a king, or queen, whichever, a ruler. And do you think that other people that were not the king were going, why did they get to be king and queen? Why can't I? Like, do you think that arose in their mindset then?
In other members of the aristocracy, yes, all the time. That's why they poisoned the king, and right. I mean, that kind of stuff was going on all the time, but only amongst the aristocracy, because there was a very clear line that you were not in the aristocracy. So, tough luck. You don't get it. Like in India, it's even worse, right? The caste system, right? And you were born into that caste, and there was no way to get out of that caste except by being a good householder, or a good aristocrat warrior class, or a good and then you worked your way up the castes, which Buddha completely did away with in his own thing, which he got a lot of criticism for. And so you see, we get these strict definitions of where we are, and then you can, within your little group, you can try to get position and that sort of thing, but you can't get out of it. And with the demise of the aristocracy, which exists really these days pretty much in name only, right? It got complete. I mean, it went through phases, right? These are the phases from of a development of culture over a very long period of time, where you start with the priests, the religious leaders, and the like. Then it becomes the aristocracy, the kings, and the like. Then it becomes the merchants, and finally it becomes the people.
Right.
At the end of the line, and we're very much in the end of the merchant phase, where corporations control everything.
And that feeling in us. So I love that you said the word market was merchant, but then market, because right now everybody can feel that the market, like even in the world you brought up relationships, we're like, am I on the market? Where's my place on the market? How valuable am I?
The
How much
meat market.
the meat market, how desirable am I? And also that constant of proving. So is it that we're looking around and going, okay, now I've got to take inventory of my market. Do I have enough to put me at this position?
Yeah.
And if I don't, and I'm like, there's no way I can get there. And now I suddenly just went, I'm worthless and I'm out.
Oh, absolutely. It feeds right into our deepest fears, right? Because then I'm in relationships. I've got to look good, right? So I got to get to the gym, or I got to get cosmetic surgery. I got to change my wardrobe. I got to lose weight. All of these things, because I'm not enough. I'm not enough as I am, and the competition. When you have competition, the rules of the competition, the rewards of the competition, and the judges of the competition are all the culture, right? Which is very finite and very small. When you're talking about female beauty, it's incredibly narrow, and it's the most important thing to this culture, right? And so you've got a multi-billion-dollar industry of cosmetics and fashion and all of that sort of stuff. I think the number of cosmetic surgeries done every year is like in the tens of millions now.
Yeah, you could probably go to days in the every day. How many is going on? It's happening. Lots of
Yes, it's happening so much, and it is this energy of competition, of being compelled to compete, because all the rewards that the culture holds out are tied to the competition. So you and I are sitting around talking about how to market spiritual teaching, right?
yeah,
It's like,
so
what?
tricky, guys.
It's absurd, is what it is. But there it is. Right? There's no way to it. There's no way to avoid it. This is the world in which we live. And so, who are your competitors? That's always a question that marketing people ask. Who are your main competitors? It's like, I don't have any competitors. I just have a bunch of friends.
Yes. And friends and team players. And I liked how you used that term in the light letter, team players, because
Yes.
team players don't have to be friends, but there's a respect there, and there's not just a cooperation, but we have the same goal. We're on our way
Yeah.
there.
It's reliant. The
Yeah.
goal, it's an interdependency. The goal is not attained unless unless we all cooperate and give our best.
I have two topics I want to make sure I cover, because you just reminded me of something I just saw on I don't know if it was a show or a movie or something on TV. And the line was, somebody had said, you cheated. And they said, oh, I didn't cheat. I just play by different rules. And I was like, oh, snap.
Snap.
Really
Yeah,
made
that's
me.
right. But you should kind of tell me that you're going to
Yeah,
do
we don't know. But then
that.
I thought, well, that's so interesting when we think about competition, because you just mentioned rules and reward. And so, say, we're all just puttering around in our lives and we're taking inventory. Okay, there, and I'll compete on this because I do want more of that and I want to be the best here, but I don't care about being the best in this. This is okay that I'm not. First of all, what makes us decide what is important? Like, I might compete for something that somebody else might not even care about, and vice versa. So what drives
Yeah,
us?
that's just that's our individual interests and choices and needs are all happening within context of what the culture defines and allows, right? And so we all have the need to feel safe, to feel wanted, to have a mate, to have some security, right? And what that means in every culture is different, right? And how to get it is different in every culture, and exactly what that looks like is different for every individual. This is the beauty and the mystery of life, is it is different for every individual. What
Yeah.
makes you feel safe and loved can be totally repulsive to somebody else. And sometimes it is a pathology. I only feel safe and loved when I'm being abused. I mean, it can get that twisted, right? And so, as always, it comes down to first coming to terms with ourselves, right? Being able to work through our own stuff so that we can see clearly what is truly valuable and what isn't, what is going to deliver the goods and what won't. And the culture says do this and it will deliver the goods, right? And of course, because our culture has no social contract anymore, it's always convincing people that the thing that's going to make somebody the most money is the thing that I really need. And so I'm not even in the equation at all. I'm this object to be convinced that I want something that I don't actually need, to make an association between what I do need, right, and what I don't need, and make me think that I need it. Which is why, I mean, God, they spend billions of dollars on drug pharmaceutical advertising. And notice it's always these happy people in faces, and they're playing frisbee in the field, and everybody is so wonderful. And then there's this list of disclaimers down on the bottom that you can't see, and it's a very powerful technique of association. I associate my health and images of health with this pill, right?
Yeah.
And the interest of the people who are making the pill is not my health.
Right. And if you even had 3 of those things that were at the bottom, you would be unhappy on that list. Forget all of them.
Yeah,
But
forget all of them. Yeah.
so that's interesting the way the image is played out. So, okay, this is interesting. So, okay, let's just say I was house sitting last week, and there's some lovely things there that I don't have. There's things that I have that they don't have, so it's different. So I was experiencing something different. And I thought, oh wow, wouldn't that be nice to have? So say it comes up to me, how can I get that? How can I create that? How can I experience this? But then
Mhm.
if that feeling goes to I'm not good enough unless I get it versus, ooh, I think I'd like this. This is inspiring.
Mhm.
Is that a way to check in if it's I don't want to say a spiritual competition, but if is that a how do you check in to see if that's a healthy competition or is it like, ugh?
Well, at that point, it's not yet a competition. At that point, it's an inquiry. You see something really nice and go, "Gee, that would be really nice." Now, there could be just a natural openness that would be open to seeing. Well, would this really benefit my life? Is this something I'd be interested in a week and then let it go? Um, or is this something that would truly bring some value into my life? And that's a reasonable inquiry. That inquiry doesn't get made if there's a deep enough wounding that's forever looking for something external to satisfy it.
Ooh.
It's always looking for something out there to fill up this hole, in which case it'll cling to it, it'll grab to it, there'll be an attachment there rather than simply a self-expression. And that's why this inner work is so absolutely critical, because without that, you'll go from one attachment to another, all of which will be unsatisfying, and you'll blame yourself for it.
I'm imagining somebody with all those trophies and still not, on the shelf, and they look at them every and reminded that they've accomplished or did something, but then they're still, it's,
Yeah.
doesn't feel good still.
No, it's not satisfying. Right? None of our accomplishments are 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 satisfying to our souls, right?
Hmm.
Because it's a temporary high. Yeah, I made that accomplishment. It was really good. That was really nice, right? But if I don't know myself, the essential emptiness, the essential hole in me is still there. And so it can be quieted through all sorts of different things, through peak experiences, through accomplishments, through the acquisition of things, through all of the big and the petty distractions that we have. And competing is always towards some goal that I don't have now. So it has inherently in it a lack of satisfaction, which means
Ooh.
what it does have in it is inherent suffering.
Yes. Okay. And now we know to also know that there is suffering in life. It's going to be there. It's and we're not trying to affirm it away, right? I am not suffering. We are, we're with it. Would the inquiry might be, okay, I'm suffering. I would like something to be different than it is. I'd like to have something that I don't. Does the inquiry then become, what do I feel I'm lacking, or where in me is feeling the lack of?
Wow, it's great that you brought that up.
Good. Okay.
Well done, grasshopper. Yeah, well, we have to, right? The first thing to admit is I'm suffering, right? Most of the time we don't. We think, oh no, I need to compete. We don't actually recognize the discontent that's driving it, right? So that's the first step. And it was the first of the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. Oh, yes, there is suffering here. Right?
Ah.
If I deny that, then I think it's just about the competition or about the acquisition or whatever it is. And I'm completely unaware of what's driving it. So now I can ask the question, okay, I'm suffering. Now I can look and go, oh, I'm pursuing that because I think it's going to end my suffering. Is that true? Now I get into the inquiry. Now I get into an evaluation. I start looking at it, right? Now I'm deeply in the process because it's no longer just, you're just no longer unconsciously going after what you've been trained to go after. You're not looking at the whole thing. And you look and go, yeah, okay, if I succeed, then I will know happiness for a while. There'll be a temporary thing there. Is that what I really want? A life that's just, I have moments of happiness and a lot of moments of misery, right? And then you can even look more closely. Is there any way to not have that? Is there any way to have anything that I can acquire? Is it not going to change on me? Is it not going, am I not going to change and it's not going to be satisfying anymore? So eventually you can, through just a deep inquiry and an honest investigation, realize that there is nothing you can attain in the world that will bring you to a state of lasting contentment. Now, okay, well, is there such a thing as lasting contentment? Now it's at a completely different level, right? Okay, none of this is going to do it. Is it possible? Right. Well, if you want to believe somebody like the Buddha, he said, yes, it is. There is a cause to suffering and there is an end to it. He didn't say temporary, right? Didn't say that, yeah, you do this and it'll be okay for a while, right? So there is an end to suffering. And in fact, he spoke of his enlightenment, which everyone loves to talk about, as the end of his suffering. No more suffering at all.
When he was suffering, was he competing was he recognizing the pain in the suffering from competing and needing externally?
Yeah, well, at the end, before his enlightenment, he was purposely inflicting suffering on himself because he
Yes.
thought that was the way he was going to overcome body and desire, and because he thought that if he could overcome all the bodily desires, then he would attain enlightenment and suffering would end, right? And he said, oops, my bad, I was wrong.
That grain of rice is not cutting it.
that does not do it. So he found the middle way between starving yourself and indulging yourself, between going without and greed, which is something the world really needs to learn about right now.
Yes.
And so it becomes a real an individualized inquiry. Okay, well, I'm looking to this thing to find what is it I'm really trying to find, that this will bring temporary relief but not a permanent healing. So now I'm here, I'm looking here, what's going on here? And this is where meditation and self-inquiry, you begin to just stay with your own feelings rather than immediately run to some kind of promise of a cure. your inner world, your suffering becomes like a child you want to comfort and not a problem to be transcended anymore, right? You're approaching this with the love of a mother. Well, not my mother, but
The mother.
the love of the ideal, the ideal mother, the earth
nurturing.
mother, right? Um, and if you take that kind of attitude, you're bringing to yourself the kind of environment that would have avoided the wound in the first place, right? But now that it's here, well, okay, what do? We have to surround it with that kind of loving awareness, and allow it to develop. And you can trace it down. Well, what I really want to do is feel valued. Well, why don't I feel valued? Where does that go? What do I need then to feel valued or feel like I'm significant? And it just keeps going, right? It just keeps going until you get right to the root of that particular thread of suffering, and eventually to where Buddha got to, the ultimate thread, the ultimate fountain that created all the suffering.
Yes. I'm going to take this moment here to let everybody know that, yes, we are doing Om School Live, which we're doing a little bit of a theme lesson here. And if something is coming up for you as we're speaking here, that you're thinking, oh, wow, yes, this is something I would like to walk through, or just have DP talk a little bit about where it comes to it. Are you competing for something? Are you measuring yourself against something or someone else, or just noticing something bubble up inside of you, whether it's envy, jealousy, not enoughness, fear? Just please put that in the comments, and in about less than 10 minutes, give or take, then we can go through the comments and bring that into the conversation here at Om School, the Om School class.
That's right.
Yeah, because
Homeschool is everywhere. We're in the
it's
air.
everywhere.
We're in the airwaves. We're
On the road, we've
broadcasting
been bringing it.
everywhere.
Can there be, no, I'm not even going to make a statement. Can there be a healthy position where we can take competition and use it as motivation, drive, but yet have it be from
Yeah, yes, of course we can, because human life is always about improving and growing and that sort of thing, but it has to be kept into proportion. If we think that we're going to grow to some place where we're always going to be happy, we're deluded. It's not going to happen, right? There's a natural growth to life, right? There's a natural unfoldment of life, but there's also a natural end to each life, right? You get the growth, but you also get the decay. It's inevitable, right? Things sag and hair falls out or turns white. It's just the way it is, right? And right. I mean, it's just what happens. So there is a growth, there is a decay, there's an expansion, there's a contraction. This is the nature of life itself. And on the side of, oftentimes there's things that inspire us to do better, right? Because it's really easy for us to rest on our laurels. I used to think I was a pretty good musician, and then I'd hear somebody who's better, and go, "Oh, okay, not all right." And the very fact that I could hear it, I could either be bitter about it, right, or complain, "Oh, they're not as good. Why do they have this success?" Or I could go, "Wow, that's really good." Right? And it's simply, the disposition that takes it in. Am I going to take advantage of that to see what works for me, right? Because sometimes you can get in that and you end up copying them, right? Imitating, rather than really kind of absorbing. So you appropriate. It becomes, in fact, people can hear the difference, right? There's a way of gleaning something from somebody who's doing that still remains you, but it just kind of opens a door in you. Now you could call that competition, but I don't think that really qualifies.
You were modeling.
Yeah, it's more modeling. I mean, that's how children learn. They learn by imitating, and it eventually becomes them. If there's enough freedom for them, it gets integrated into their own, their own flavor, their own style. And that's the way it should happen. And sometimes it can be challenged. I remember once working on this program that we were looking to get investment in, that actually still around. It's still doing stuff. And this was the technology had never been done before, right? For the drag and drop kind of thing, which is like
Oh,
all over the place now. But
well, thank you. I
this
love
is
that.
like this is like the late '90s, and the internet was just brand new, right? The World Wide Web was brand new. The modern HTML3, and that's 5 now. I think it's up to is whatever it is. It didn't have any of that stuff, right? And I wanted to make use of it. So there was one thing I was doing that was pretty clumsy, and we're showing to this one group of people, and they were kind of making fun of it, and it like went right here to me. It's like, oh, you got to do that. It's like, well, everybody does it. It was really arrogant on their part because nobody'd done it, right? Right. So you know what I did? I went home, and 3 days later, I had
Oh,
it. Now that was a little bit of pride there, and some arrogance, and the like, and some competitiveness, right? So it wasn't pure by any stretch of the imagination, but nonetheless, it was like, okay, I mean, the gauntlet got set down, and somebody's got to do it, so I did it.
right. I like that. So, yeah, to me, that sounds like, well, it almost sounds like, oh no, you got bullied almost, but you were, yeah. So there's a weird thing. How can we not justify somebody's arrogant behavior? But I know. This is where you say, don't let things just stick, because let that pass by. Be the witness to how they responded, what they said. Yeah, it's silly, whatever you did, but you didn't. If we don't let it stick so that it harms us, and you didn't just put it away and say, I'm never working on this again. But if we can
Right.
let it inspire.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, it wasn't pure, right? It wasn't just, oh, I
Yes.
think I'll go. I think I can solve this problem. There was like, I want to show you. There was a lot of male peeing in the corners going on, right?
Right.
But nonetheless, I could have crawled away. I could have gotten really bitter about it, But instead, I just, okay, well, I took it to another level, right? Which turned out to be a really good thing.
W- This is now, as you said, 90s, so we're decades later. Would that be something that you ever do any self-inquiry about? Or is that happened, it's done, and that, or would we ever go back? It's like remembering something in our childhood. Should we revisit that if to see if there's any residue of
Not
current?
as an act of will.
Okay.
In the process of self-inquiry, whatever you need to inquire in will come to you. You don't need to go looking for it. Believe me. I don't have to. Should I review that thing I did in 7th grade? Or you'll just be in meditation, and all of a sudden there'll be this horrible feeling of embarrassment about something you did in 7th grade. Right?
Okay.
That's the time to inquire in it. You don't need to. This isn't analysis. You don't need to break everything down and systematically go through it all. This is the beauty of self-inquiry and inner reconciliation. You only have to deal with what's right here in front of you right now. That's it.
That's a very helpful tip. And
Oh
also,
God, yes.
it
Because otherwise, it's just endless.
yes,
It's
it's like
it's
walking into a
endless.
messy house and saying, "Where do I start?" Because you just wait to the one area that calls you the most. Like, come here, stinky
Yeah.
garbage. Let's go.
Yeah, you get rid of that, and then all of a sudden you realize there's 10 other doors down there, and they're all messed up, rooms filled with crap as well. It's endless. Analysis is endless, but inquiry is immediate.
Ooh, timestamp that one. Right. Oh, okay. So another question with the competition, because we're compelled to compete. I like that there's a testosterone. There's a natural like let's do this. When in women, I am going to bring up the I shouldn't say women, the feminine nature that comes up. It does competition exist, or is it purely
Sure,
nurture?
there's some competition, and it's extreme in our world, right? That's why women go through such extremes to make themselves look attractive,
Is that out of
or
fear
or
though?
to or to do better in or to get ahead against a lot of resistance in the male dominated business world, they'll kind of twist themselves in a knot. So it's in humans. It's in all a part of us. It just manifests differently, and when it becomes pathological, it manifests differently in men than in women. But it's the same essence, right? Just a different expression. The same song played on a flute or played on the piano is the same song. It's the expression is very, very different.
Right. And different people will prefer each one. Yes.
And every individual it will be different for, right? This way you can't figure this stuff out. It's just it's just too vast.
Yes. Yes. Oh. Okay, so that is such a feeling that comes in different, as you said, different forms, and it's interesting to identify it at first. And I love that you brought it to suffering, because if it's really an uncomfortable, consuming feeling of this competition, and I have to get better, be better, get more, come in first. The I have to or I'm not enough is what we're wanting to heal, to inquire, and then to
Yes,
heal.
that's where the gold is. That's where you have to go, because that's what's driving the behavior, and it's driving the behavior in a direction that can never satisfy it. That's the tragedy of. That's why it's suffering, because the behavior and the actions that are being taken in order to satisfy this can never satisfy it. So now suffering becomes continual, which is what it is for humanity.
Yes.
Suffering is pretty much continual. Little punctuations of a happy moment, right? But for the most part, everyone lives in a state of discontent and fear.
Yes, and we're going to be talking more, not this show, but about that secret discontent that we don't even know about, and you're like, ah. But that's actually an interesting pattern. I just imagined it, being suffering, ooh, happiness, suffering.
And then what happens? We look back at that I was happy, and we try to recreate the conditions of it.
Yes.
That entire time we're suffering, and then we almost inevitably fail because it was just a particular confluence that happened. You can't put them back together. Very rarely you can, and you have it again, and then you keep trying to do it over and over and over again. That's the nature of addiction.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to do a pause here just for a second. It's funny looking at, because I know we started a little bit late, but because I'm looking for my recess bell almost here. So for homeschool here, we're going to take a short recess. I would love to invite everybody to an upcoming workshop. And if I'm going to get this name right, but I know it's about awakening the heart. But can you help me out with the proper title of that one?
Oh, the power of loving awareness.
The power of loving awareness. And ready for this, everybody? It's 3 days. So you've got 90 minutes on each day, the 24th, 25th, 26th of this month, March, and you can attend virtually. And it is only it's $100 Canadian. So you're in 77-ish dollars US, and really excited about that one because of this very thing of loving awareness, of opening the heart, and of the very thing that we're talking about, which is practice and doing it. Well, the thing is this is different. I was thinking about competition and practice, where people think, well, you gotta do your after school practice so that you can play in the game, so that you can go to the championships and get the reward. But that is the reward. The reward is to end suffering. So when we do this practice, that's why I'm so excited to invite you to this extremely affordable retreat, and it's with the Krishnamurti Center. And so you're supporting a beautiful, beautiful center group. I'm gonna call it
It's a beautiful place, and I'll be doing a live event there next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so if you guys would like, I don't know that we have a link. Do we have a link yet? We might not have. We're going to look for it in the light letter anyways.
No. Yeah, it's the Krishnamurti Center of Canada, and it's a long URL. It's a .ca URL. There'll be a letter an email going out in the next day or two that'll have a link, because you'll be registering there, not through my site.
Yes.
Right? It's all being handled on their site, and half of the amount goes to them.
Yes.
So this annually, I kind of do this to help keep them afloat, because they're totally nonprofit, and they've got beautiful grounds up there. I've done did one retreat and then COVID hit. So
Oh.
we were planning on another. We were already had it all planned for the other one. We had to switch it to virtual because of COVID. But I think next year they're going to be lifting that there.
Yes.
And so yeah, the power of loving awareness. I mean, that's what we were talking about with when you turn towards your suffering, right? And actually be present with your suffering rather than always trying to placate it or get out of it. That's the loving awareness. And you can see how courageous it is and how fearless loving awareness is. Just whatever comes, okay. I am big enough to embrace whatever comes. And it's the highest really that a human being can attain, that kind of open-hearted loving awareness. That really is the ideal. And that's the part that's missed in a lot of non-dual teaching, where it becomes more about the intellectual side of it, the no self, or there's no, there's the dissolution of the ego and all that sort of stuff. That's all part of it as well. But without the loving awareness, that becomes very cold and even arrogant.
I've witnessed that for sure.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention too how I love that you're doing this with the Krishnamurti Center because of Canada, because it's cooperation. You're not competing. We're not like, hey, they're going to have better turnout, or we're going to have a better turnout, or we got to get more. It's so beyond teamwork. It's let's come together to offer.
Yes,
a
it's a
space for
it's a sangha. We're all spiritual friends, right? We're here working together for a common cause, which is the healing of humanity and the healing of the individual. I mean, that's what we're here for. And there's no competition there. There's only cooperation. There's only collaboration. And it's been proven time and time again that, I mean, you have a company and they got this competitive attitude towards the other company, but, they'll literally spend tens of thousands of dollars on people coming in training on teamwork. Right? So, yeah, we want competition over there, but not here. Right? Right. It's fragmented. Right?
Yes.
So cooperation, collaboration, which has always been part of us. There's always been the men went out to hunt. There was an order there. There was a way you had to work together in order to do it, because not one guy's not going to be able to take down a saber-toothed tiger or a woolly mammoth. In the meantime, the children are being raised by several generations of women while the men are gone, and then the men come back, and everybody does their thing. But it's one cooperative, collaborative effort. And this is far closer to human nature than this idea of competition, which has just been promoted. Really, it's just another way of justifying war and stealing resources from each other rather than sharing them. It's just greed gone nuts.
Control and power. Yes.
Yeah.
And I just happened to catch this. I'm going to throw it in there because it's a perfect comment. As Krishnamurti said, let's inquire together. And with that is so beautiful, because that's what we're going to go into, some of the comments and questions here. And I have to say that whenever we do the looking class, which is on Wednesdays, we inquire together. When someone else has brought, a concern, a suffering up, we all get to do it together. And I can assure you, whatever is ready to come up for you will come up. And then there you are with it. So it's wonderful when we can do it all together. And I will promote that as well. Yes, if you'd like to be a part of the looking class, we meet every Wednesday, and it is a monthly subscription at $97 a month. And we'd love to have you there every week, whenever you can, listen to the replays. But I am going to jump to the comments because I don't want to lose time. I saw... Oh, something happened because I'm on the host end. Hold on here. Okay. Oh, it does something weird.
The comments are up with that. You may have clicked on another thing. The comments there?
It does something different. Oh, okay. I found Lisa was the one I was looking. Competition begins in childhood among siblings as a rivalry. Yes. Fighting over parents' attention, approval. And I did want to bring that up because... Yes, because that's so... I have an older sister, and I know that when I came home, when I was brought home by the hospital, she changed. And my mother always said, like, my sister was like, who knows what a child will be like? I wasn't good enough. You needed another one. Why are they taking my attention? Oh, I get to help out. What happens there when they're so young and innocent, but they feel it?
Well, because they feel they feel a threat to their security,
Mm.
right? Because it's changed. The environment has changed, and whenever the environment has changed, there's a certain discomfort, right? And now the parents' attention has been spread, and so this is, this is what this is why parenting is so damn difficult, right? Because how do you do it? You've got to split the attention. You've got to split the attention now. You only have so much, right? Hopefully, you got two people that love each other, so they can be team players and making it happen. You have to avoid your own taking favorites, you know, and and just be wise and fair in all dealings. And that's the demand. That's the demand, and you're going to do it imperfectly, right? And there's going to be some degree of a sense of well, it's already there, right? Because the child is already morphing into whatever they need to get what they need from the parent. Now it's got to morph in a different way, right?
Yes.
And it can have a profound impact. And again, it's going to be completely up to the parents to mitigate the exactly how bad it is for them. And it is just going to be the way it is. And then eventually the child will grow up and find a teacher and get through it.
I love that you brought it back to the environment. That's right. So as the environment changes, and it will, then our nervous system and kind of goes, oh, I need to do this to remain safe. I need to do this to remain
Yeah.
free.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Andy, SP Weasel, GP, what do you think of the roles of etiquette, sportsmanship, social rules, and customs with regards to social competition?
Well, in the absence of our natural connection to our true nature, the social structure creates rules, right? That's what the Ten Commandments are, It's very primitive. It's very first chakra tribal, right? And the dark side of the tribe. The good side of the tribe is just the natural cooperation of nature. The dark side is when culture takes over and now everything has to be regimented. And now, that said, this is the situation we're in. Um, we we acknowledge that some of those are useful. We all stop at red lights. Very useful, right? I'm purposely inhibiting my freedom for the benefit of all, right? So it makes sense. But what we have to do is we have to realize that we made these rules, therefore we can change them whenever they're no longer appropriate. But the problem is those rules create a hierarchy, and some people have more power, and then they don't want those rules to change even when they don't serve their purpose anymore. And this is where it takes some maturing of it. Yeah, we're always going to have some kind of agreements. I mean, if you go into a Buddhist temple, there are rules. The Buddhists have precepts, right? You go into anything, there's always some kind of rules. The question is, did the rules grow out of a cultural imposition, or do they arise out of our own nature and therefore are malleable and can change and be flexible and not be absolute to accommodate every single individual? And this is the maturity that we require.
I love that. That's perfect. Oh, and the growing rule. Um, okay, this is such a valuable one. I can't even imagine where we're going to go with this one. The competition of I know versus you don't know. That there's so much. Well, let's, for the lack of a better word at the moment, call it intellectual stuff going around, but it's not that it is intellectual, but there's a lot of information going on. And now we're judging it as this is good information, bad information, this is right information, wrong information. I have access to this, you do not. It's like a whole other ball game out there.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear that. That's from Mimi. There we go. A lot of
Information in our culture is power. So I want to control information. I want to control the story. That's what marketing is.
control the story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what marketing is to try to convince you of a particular thing. They want control over the mind. We actually did a show a long time ago called The Battle for the Mind.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, World War III, the battle for the mind. And so information is power, right? And if I want to have power, then I have to claim I have this information. And this has always been the case ever since we were no longer in our natural environment where information and power was shared, right? Once we got a hierarchy going, the priests were the highest. They had the sacred knowledge. They had access. They're most of the time they're the only ones who could read or write, if there was reading and writing in their culture. But they had the sacred sacraments, and so they occupied this particular place. And now, I went to the aristocracy, and they had, is it gone through the various phases now? And now in corporate, there's a thing called business intelligence, right? Which is gaining information about your competitor and how they're going to be doing, and all of this kind of stuff, the strategy of the game, as it were. So, and we're being bombarded with people wanting to accept their information as true because that gives them power, and oftentimes just access to your credit card.
Yes.
And so once again, we have to realize that we're just awash in a world of information with no point of reference to give it any kind of meaning. So abundance of information. You have Google at your fingertips, but so what? What gives it context? Where's the concierge, right? Where's the curator that says, okay, what matters and what doesn't? And we've lost that as a capacity. I mean, that's the nature of academic research, right? Going through just tons of information to decide what matters and what doesn't. And even running across things that so contradict your original thesis that you have to say, my thesis was wrong. But learning how to do that is fast becoming a lost art. And so we change like the wind, right? The latest trend, this trend happened. Oh, now it's over here, and I got to do this. No, it's this. It's hip hop. No, it's ska, or whatever the current thing that's happening, as if that was a good thing, right? And you can feel it in your body as stress. You can feel it when there's no place to say, no, I don't need that. Yeah, this is good. Come on in. When there's no place to do that, we feel it as stress. And again, fundamentalists do that as well. Here's the stake in the ground, right? But that's a set of rules that is not questionable, right? To the open-hearted wise one, that stake in the ground is always questioned, right? It's always willing to go, maybe I need to move that a bit, right? And that's
Yes.
real freedom.
I'm in love with that. That one I love. And also, okay, when the point of reference, so what we're measuring against, has meaning, that is so beautiful, because then now it has meaning. And I love the question, what matters and what doesn't. So that actually, so if we took the whole umbrella here of competition, it's us asking ourselves, what matters and what doesn't, and am I using the measurement of my reference point of, does it have meaning?
Yes. Well, that is the meaning, right? That meaning defines whether or not this is useful or not. And for me, the meaning I found is love. And I found no reason to move that stake as of yet. If anybody comes up with something, I'm more than happy to look at it. But love, yeah, it's the reference point. Does this enhance love or inhibit love? Does it bring us closer? Does this open my heart? Does it close it? It's easy.
I love that. Could we do that then if something comes up for us and we think, ooh, they have more? Then do we have to say, ooh, did that open my heart or did it close it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, right there, right there. You're doing the inquiry. Okay, when I feel like this jealousy that they have more than me, does that open me or close me?
Right.
If it opens me, there's less suffering. If it closes me, there's more suffering. Simple as that.
Yes.
If it's open and I can get myself to a place like, yeah, I'd really love to have that, and I'm so happy they do.
Yeah.
And I'm free whether I do or not. I'm allowing myself to be happy with or without it. Right? Now I'm right in the center of embracing the suffering and transcending it, truly being liberated from suffering, because that's the only place it's going to happen. Right? Because as long as there's some external, it's tied to some external condition, you'll be chasing external conditions forever, trying to make them stable. And as anybody hasn't noticed, everything changes. There is nothing stable.
Except for thus far the stake in the heart. No, the love.
Yeah.
No,
Yes. I mean, yeah, there is something stable, right? And you can find that in the inquiry. You can find the place of the timeless, this place in us that hasn't been changing. But if you want to be living from that, right, from that place, you've got to go through the suffering.
Yes.
You can't just have it as a nice idea.
And I thought that was I always think you're a terrible salesperson, GP, but he always said, turn towards the suffering. That was what he said earlier. I was like,
Yeah,
all right, sign me up.
that is definitely not going to be a marketing lead.
No, but I do like, well, you might catch somebody, but turn towards it. Yeah, not to run from it, not to push it away, and not to just fix it, but to turn towards it with an open heart. And then we can move into, because the suffering is, I want, I need, I'm not enough, and all those. And so going back, I feel like that's, even though we didn't mean to come up with a formula, I feel like we have a step-by-step program here.
Maybe we do.
We do. I like it. Well, I know it was a little bit of a shorter show, but I feel like it's so beautifully wrapped up. And yes, to answer everyone's question, especially Ava, yes, I'm pretty sure the Krishnamurti centers will put out their own email, but then we're going to be putting one out as well in the next day. So you'll get that about the upcoming. So it's March 24th, 25th, 26th, 3 days of 90 minutes. Beautiful retreat, only 100 Canadian, so 70 something US. And
yeah, it's almost free in Europe.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's even,
50
it's
euro?
even, yeah, I mean, if you look at
Or not
pound
even.
sterling or the euro, they're even stronger. They're stronger against the dollar.
Oh, nice. Oh, so yes, we'll hope to see all of our European friends there. And no volume. Oh, I hope not. Okay, I think that's just for you, Bill, so far.
Yeah, I think we have heard from more than one.
Yes. Oh, hopefully, Bill, you sort that out. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here with us for Om School Live. We'll see you next Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see most of you, or if not everybody, at the Looking class tomorrow, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, GP.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, I have to end it.
You got to end it today. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You're in charge. Yeah.
Okay, bye.